I stood in the middle of my living room, 8 months pregnant, my heart hammering against my ribs as Victoria screamed at me. "You're a mistake. Ryan should leave you. He deserves so much better than this." My husband froze in the doorway, his face pale, caught between the woman who raised him and the woman carrying his child. The room spun slightly. My hands instinctively went to my belly, protecting the life inside me from the venom spilling into our home. Victoria's perfectly painted lips twisted with satisfaction as she watched me struggle for words. Ryan's silence cut deeper than any insult she could throw. "What the hell just happened?" I whispered, more to myself than anyone else. "My name is Clara," and this was the moment everything I'd built started crumbling around me. The moment I realized my marriage, my future, and my sanity were all under attack. And the worst part? My own husband couldn't decide whose side he was on. 6 months earlier, everything seemed perfect. Ryan and I had just found out we were expecting our first child. I remembered sitting on our bathroom floor at dawn, staring at those 2 pink lines, tears streaming down my face. When I told Ryan, he'd lifted me off my feet and spun me around, laughing like a kid on Christmas morning. His joy was pure and complete. We'd called his mother that same afternoon. Victoria had come over for dinner, bringing an expensive bottle of wine she couldn't even drink with us. "Congratulations," she'd said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "This is wonderful news." But something in her tone felt off. The way she looked at my stomach, like it was an inconvenience rather than a blessing. The way she touched Ryan's arm and said, "Everything's going to change now, sweetheart." I'd brushed it off. First-time pregnancy nerves, I told myself. I was imagining things that weren't there. The small comments started almost immediately. "Are you sure you should be eating that?" Victoria asked during our next family dinner, eyeing my plate. "You don't want to gain too much weight." Ryan laughed it off, but I felt the sting. A week later, she questioned my decision to keep working. "Most mothers take time off earlier," she said sweetly. "Don't you want what's best for the baby?" When I mentioned buying a crib online, she sighed. "I suppose that's what people do now. In my day, we cared more about quality." Each comment was small, almost reasonable on its own. But they added up, like drops of water wearing down stone. Ryan didn't see it. When I tried explaining how his mother made me feel, he'd kiss my forehead and say I was being sensitive. "Pregnancy hormones," he'd joke. "She's just excited about being a grandmother." I wanted to believe him. I really did. By month 5, I was exhausted. My job as a marketing coordinator demanded long hours. And my body was changing faster than I could keep up with. Victoria started calling Ryan directly, bypassing me entirely. I'd come home to find them on the phone, Ryan's voice low and serious. He'd always hang up quickly when I entered the room. "Just Mom," he'd say. "She worries." About what, he never specified. One evening, I found Ryan look at our bank statements with a frown. "Mom thinks we should be saving more," he said carefully. "She's concerned about our financial readiness." I stared at him. We'd been over our budget a dozen times. We were fine. "Your mother doesn't know our finances," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Clara, she's just trying to help." But it didn't feel like help. It felt like interference. It felt like she was slowly building a wall between us, one careful brick at a time. The baby shower was Victoria's idea. "Let me throw it," she'd insisted. "You're so busy with work, and I want to do this for you." It seemed generous. I was grateful, actually. Planning a shower while battling morning sickness and work deadlines felt impossible. The day arrived, and I walked into the country club Victoria had reserved, wearing my favorite maternity dress. The room was beautiful, decorated in soft blues and whites, exactly what I would have chosen. But as I greeted guests, I noticed the whispers, the pitying looks. My coworker, Amanda, pulled me aside. Clara, I don't know if you know this, but Victoria's been telling people you're struggling at work. My stomach dropped. What? She said you're worried about being able to handle both career and motherhood. That you're considering quitting. The lie was so specific, so believable. I hadn't said anything like that to anyone. I looked across the room and found Victoria watching me, her smile pleasant and empty. I confronted Ryan that night. Your mother is spreading lies about me. He sighed, running his hands through his hair. She mentioned she's worried about you. That's not lying, Clara. That's caring. She told my coworkers I'm quitting my job. I never said that. Ryan's expression shifted, not to anger at his mother, but to doubt in me. That hurt more than anything Victoria had done. Maybe there was a misunderstanding, he said carefully. You've been stressed. Maybe you said something she misinterpreted. I felt tears burning my eyes. Not sadness, fury. You're taking her side. I'm not taking sides. I'm trying to keep peace. But there were sides, whether he admitted it or not. And he'd just chosen his. I lay awake that night, my baby moving inside me, wondering how I'd ended up here. Married, pregnant, and somehow more alone than I'd ever been. The woman who should have been my ally had become my enemy. And my husband couldn't see it. Work became my refuge, which felt backward. At my office, I was competent and valued. My boss, Patricia, called me into her office one Monday morning. Someone's been asking questions about your performance, she said bluntly. Patricia had always been direct, it was what I liked about her. Who? I asked, though I already knew. A woman claiming to be a family friend. She wanted to know if you were planning to return after maternity leave. If your work had been slipping. My hands clenched into fists. What did you tell her? I told her to mind her own business, Patricia said, her eyes kind. But Clara, whatever's happening in your personal life, don't let it affect you here. You're good at what you do. I nodded, fighting tears. As I left her office, I made a decision. I started keeping records. Every text from Victoria. Every conversation Ryan reported. Every comment, every lie, every manipulation. I opened a separate email account and documented everything. I wasn't sure why yet. I just knew I needed proof. Ryan's sister, Monica, called me out of the blue. I heard about the shower, she said. Victoria told me you seemed ungrateful. I'd never been close to Monica, but this felt like an ambush. That's not true. She said you barely thanked her. That you complained about the decorations. Another lie. I'd hugged Victoria, thanked her profusely despite what I'd discovered. Monica, your mother is lying. I don't know why, but she's trying to turn everyone against me. She laughed. Come on, Clara. You're being paranoid. Mom's just trying to help, and you're being difficult. The call ended badly. I realized Victoria's campaign wasn't just about Ryan anymore. She was poisoning the entire family against me. Building a narrative where I was the problem. The ungrateful daughter-in-law. The difficult wife. The unstable pregnant woman. By the time my baby arrived, I'd have no allies left. Unless I did something about it. At 7 months, I had a scare. Sharp pains sent me to the emergency room at 2 in the morning. Ryan drove, his hands tied on the steering wheel, his face drawn with worry. 4. Those terrifying hours in the hospital, we were united again. Partners. Parents to be facing something bigger than his mother's games. The baby was fine. Braxton Hicks contractions. The doctor explained. Common, not dangerous. But I needed to reduce stress. Take it easy, she advised. High stress isn't good for you or the baby. Ryan held my hand the entire drive home. I'm sorry, he whispered. For what? For not listening. For not seeing how hard this has been. Hope fluttered in my chest. Maybe this was the turning point. Maybe we'd be okay. Then his phone rang. Victoria, war read sick, needing to know what happened. Ryan pulled over to take the call. I watched his expression shift as she spoke. Watched him nod along to whatever she was saying. When he hung up, he wouldn't meet my eyes. She thinks. Maybe you need to stop working, G. Just until the baby comes. 2 weeks later, I discovered Victoria had been discussing our finances with Ryan in detail. She'd convinced him we weren't saving enough. That my salary wasn't worth the stress I was putting on myself and the baby. What if you took unpaid leave? Ryan suggested over breakfast. Just for a few months. We can't afford that, I said flatly. Mom said she could help us out financially. Just until, no. The word came out sharper than I intended. No? Clara, she's trying to help. She's trying to control us. Can't you see that? We argued for an hour. It ended with Ryan leaving for work early, and me sitting at our kitchen table, shaking with anger. That afternoon, I went to the bank. I opened my own account, separate from our joint finances. I transfer my next paycheck there. I wasn't leaving Ryan. But I was protecting myself. Victoria had already taken my husband's trust. She wasn't taking my independence too. Small victories kept me going. I refused Victoria's advice about our baby registry. I chose my own pediatrician, ignoring her recommendations. When she offered to come stay with us after the birth, I politely declined. We need time to bond as a family, I told Ryan. For once. He agreed. Victoria's mask slipped during a Sunday dinner. I just want to be involved, she said, her voice rising. Is that so wrong? You can be involved without taking over, I replied calmly. Ryan looked between us, uncomfortable. Mom, Clara's right. We appreciate your help, but we need to do this our way. Victory tasted sweet, even if it was temporary. Victoria left early, her goodbye cold. But that night, Ryan pulled me close. I'm sorry I haven't been more supportive, he said. You're going to be an amazing mother. For the first time in months, I felt like we might survive this. Like Victoria's grip might finally be loosening. I should have known better. The next attack came through work. Patricia called me on a Friday afternoon, her voice tight with controlled anger. Someone filed a complaint about you with HR. My blood went cold. What kind of complaint? Anonymous. Claims you've been erratic, emotional, unprofessional. That you've made comments about not being able to handle your responsibilities. I closed my eyes. It's not true. I know it's not true. But HR has to investigate. I need you to document your work for the past 3 months. Emails, PR projects. Everything. I knew exactly who'd made that complaint. That weekend, I compiled everything. 6 months of exemplary work. Praise from clients. Completed projects ahead of schedule. On Monday, I met with HR. They reviewed my documentation and dismissed said the complaint entirely. Someone's targeting you, the HR director said. If it happens again, we'll pursue legal action. I walked out of that meeting and called the one person I thought might understand. Amanda, my coworker, met me for coffee. I know it's Victoria, I told her. I just can't prove it. Amanda studied me across the table. Clara, I need to tell you something. My heart sank. Victoria called me 3 weeks ago. She said she was worried about you. Asked me to keep an eye on you at work, to report back if you seemed unstable. I stared at HR. And I told her to go to hell, Amanda said flatly. I've worked with you for 4 years. You're one of the most stable people I know. Whatever she's doing, it's not okay. She paused, then added, she's done this before. What do you mean? My cousin worked with Victoria's previous daughter-in-law before she divorced Ryan's brother. Victoria ran the same campaign against her. Isolated her, spread rumors, turned the family against her. The marriage lasted 2 years. This wasn't just about me. This was Victoria's pattern. Her method of maintaining control over her sons. What happened to the ex-wife? I asked. Amanda's expression was grim. Last I heard, she'd moved across the country. Hasn't spoken to the family in 10 years. That night, I SHO'd Ryan everything. The documents, Amanda's testimony, the pattern of behavior. He sat on our couch, face buried in his hands. I don't want to believe this, he whispered. But belief wasn't optional anymore. The evidence was right there. Something shifted after that conversation. Ryan started questioning his mother's calls. When Victoria suggested I was too tired to host Thanksgiving, Ryan shut it down immediately. Clara's doing great, he said firmly. We're hosting, and that's final. Victoria's surprise was obvious even over the phone. Sweetheart, I just think, we've made our decision, Mom. I felt tears prick my eyes. Not from sadness this time, but relief. My husband was finally standing beside me. Thanksgiving was small, just Rhea and me, and a few close friends. Victoria had been invited but declined. I wouldn't want to intrude, she'd said icily. It was the most peaceful holiday I'd had in months. My friends brought gifts for the baby, shared advice and encouragement. Amanda made everyone laugh with stories from the office. As we cleaned up that night, Ryan wrapped his arms around me from behind, his hands resting on my belly. I've been a terrible husband, he said quietly. I let her come between us. You're here now, I replied. That's what matters. But I knew Victoria wouldn't give up this easily. The silence was just her regrouping. I was right. 2 weeks later, Victoria showed up at our house unannounced. Ryan was at work. I was working from home, comfortable in sweatpants, my laptop balanced on my enormous belly. She didn't knock, she used the key Ryan had given her months ago. Clara, we need to talk. I closed my laptop slowly. You should have called first. I'm Ryan's mother. I don't need an appointment. Her tone was ice. She sat across from me, her posture perfect, her expression calculating. I know what you've been telling Ryan about me. The lies you've been spreading. I haven't lied about anything. You've turned my son against me. You're manipulating him, using this pregnancy as leverage. I wanted to scream. To throw her out. But I forced myself to stay calm. Victoria, everything I've told Ryan is documented. Would you like to see the evidence? Her eyes flashed with something dangerous. You think you're so clever. But you're forgetting something important. What's that? I'm his mother. I was here first. I'll be here long after you're gone. The threat was clear. She stood to leave, pausing at the door. Ryan deserves better than you. Someday, he'll see that. After she left, I sat in stunned silence for a long time. Then I picked up my phone and made a decision. I started recording everything. Through Amanda's cousin, I learned more about Victoria's history. Ryan's brother, Marcus, had been married to a woman named Teresa. Sweet, kind Teresa who'd loved Marcus completely. Victoria had hated her on sight. Too ambitious, she'd told people. No tea family. Oriented enough. The complaints were identical to the ones she made about me. Victoria had orchestrated arguments, spread lies, isolated Teresa from the family. When Teresa finally left, Victoria had thrown a party. Good riddance, she'd told her friends. Marcus had remarried within a year, to a woman Victoria handpicked. Someone quiet, compliant, controllable. Someone who knew her place. I showed Ryan the timeline. The pattern. The history repeating itself. She did this to Teresa, I said quietly. She's doing it to me. If I leave, she'll find someone else for you. Someone she can control. Ryan looked sick. Marcus never told me any of this. Because she probably turned him against Teresa so completely. He believed every lie. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then Ryan picked up his phone. I need to call my brother. The conversation with Marcus changed everything. Ryan came home from their coffee meeting looking shattered. You were right, he said. About all of it. Marcus had confirmed the entire pattern. The lies, the manipulation, the systematic destruction of his first marriage. He said he sees it now. How Mom controlled everything. How Teresa never had a chance. Ryan's eyes were red. He misses her. After all these years, he still misses her. And Mom destroyed that because she wanted power over his life. She wants the same power over ours, I said gently. I know. And I won't let her have it. The next Sunday, we went to Marcus's house for dinner. His wife, Patricia, Victoria's chosen replacement, was pleasant. But cold. Clearly, she'd heard Victoria's version of events. But Marcus pulled me aside while Ryan helped in the kitchen. I'm sorry, he said. For not warning you. For not stopping her sooner. You couldn't have known she'd do it again. He laughed bitterly. I should have. This is who she is. Who she's always been. That night, we made a plan. The three of us. Ryan, Marcus, and me. It was time to confront Victoria publicly, with evidence, with witnesses, with no room for her to twist the truth. The confrontation was scheduled for the following weekend. A family dinner at Marcus's house. Victoria arrived expecting a pleasant evening. Instead, she found Ryan, Marcus, Patricia, and me waiting in the living room. What's this about? She asked, her smile faltering. Ryan spoke first. We need to talk about your behavior, Mom. The lies you've been telling about Clara. The way you tried to destroy her reputation. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do, Marcus added. The same way you did it to Teresa. Victoria's face went white, then red. How dare you bring her up? That woman nearly destroyed our family. No, Mom. You did that. I'd never heard such steel in Ryan's voice before. For the next hour, we laid out everything. The documented lies. The interference at my workplace. The manipulation of finances. The attempt to isolate me from Ryan. Victoria tried to interrupt, to redirect, to play victim. But we didn't let her. When we finished, the room was silent. Victoria stood, shaking with rage. You're making a terrible mistake, she hissed. Both of you. She turned to me. You've poisoned my sons against me. You'll regret this. The only regret here, I said quietly, is that it took this long to stop you. Victoria left. Without another word. The door slammed behind her, and I felt like I could breathe fully for the first time in 9 months. 2 weeks later, I went into labor. Ryan was beside me every second, holding my hand. Through every contraction, every scream, every moment of fear and pain and overwhelming joy. When our daughter was born, 7 pounds, 3 ounces, with Ryan's eyes and my stubborn chin, he cried openly. She's perfect, he whispered. You're both perfect. Victoria wasn't there. Ryan had made it clear she wasn't welcome in the delivery room. She'd sent flowers to the hospital, expensive, impersonal arrangements with no note. I'll call her. Eventually, Ryan said, looking at our sleeping daughter. She's still my mother. But things will be different now. I know, I said. And I did. We'd set boundaries, clear and firm. Victoria could be part of our lives, but she'd never control them again. The first week home was exhausting and beautiful. Friends visited, bringing food and gifts and congratulations. My parents flew in from across the country, thrilled to meet their first grandchild. Amanda showed up with a massive care package and made me laugh until my stitches hurt. Victoria didn't visit. She called Ryan once, her voice stiff and cold. I suppose congratulations are in order. That was it. No apology. No acknowledgement of what she'd done. But we didn't need it. We had each other, and we had our daughter. That was enough. A month after the birth, I got a call from Amanda. You need to see this. She'd been scrolling through social media when she found a post in a local mothers group. Victoria, asking for advice about a difficult daughter-in-law who'd turned her son against her. The post was full of lies. Painting me as manipulative, unstable, vindictive. Claiming I'd kept her grandchild from her out of spite. I read it 3 times, my anger building with each word. Then I noticed something. The comments weren't sympathetic. This sounds like missing reasons, one woman wrote. What aren't you telling us? Another, I know this family. This woman has done this before to another daughter-in-law. This is a pattern. Teresa had found the post. Marcus's ex-wife, silent for over a decade, had seen Victoria's attempt at sympathy and called her out publicly. This woman destroyed my marriage. Teresa wrote. She will say anything to maintain control. Don't believe her. The thread exploded. Woman after woman sharing stories of toxic mothers-in-law. Supporting me. Without even knowing me. Victoria deleted the post within hours. But screenshots lived forever. Amanda had saved everything. The public exposure broke something in Victoria. She called Ryan, sobbing, claiming she'd been hacked. That someone was impersonating her online to destroy her reputation. Mom. Stop, Ryan said wearily. We know it was you. And so does everyone else. You're going To let strangers on the internet turn you against your own mother? No. I'm going to let your own actions have consequences for once. She tried reaching out to Marcus next. He didn't answer. She called Patricia, who politely declined to get involved. She even tried calling my parents, who hung up when they realized who she was. Victoria had spent months isolating me. Now she was experiencing isolation herself. I should have felt satisfied, vindicated. Instead, I mostly felt tired. Do you think she'll ever change? I asked Ryan one night. No. He said quietly. I don't. But that's her choice, not ours. Our daughter made a small sound in her bassinet. Ryan got up to check on her, lifting her gently, whispering soft words. Watching him with her, I realized Victoria had lost more than control. She'd lost the chance to know this beautiful child, to be part of this family. And it was entirely her own fault. 3 months after our daughter was born, Victoria made one final attempt. She showed up at our door on a Sunday morning, looking older and more tired than I'd ever seen her. I want to see my granddaughter, she said. Not a request, a demand. Ryan stood firm in the doorway. That's not how this works, Mom. I have rights, you have nothing, he interrupted. You've earned nothing. You tried to destroy my wife. You lied, manipulated, and played games with our lives. You don't get to walk back in and act like none of that happened. Her eyes filled with tears. Real or performative, I couldn't tell anymore. I made mistakes, she said. But I'm still your mother. She's still my granddaughter. Then prove you've changed. Ryan said. Go to therapy. Work on yourself. Learn to respect boundaries. When you can do that, when you can apologize sincerely to Clara and mean it, we'll talk about supervised visits. Apologize to her? Victoria's mask slipped completely. She's the one who. Goodbye, Mom. Ryan closed the door. She stood outside for several minutes. I watched through the window as she finally walked away, her shoulders shaking. Are you okay? I asked Ryan. He pulled me close. Yeah. I am. Our daughter gurgled happily from her playmat, oblivious to the drama unfolding around her. In that moment, I realized we'd won. Not through revenge or cruelty. Just through standing firm. Through refusing to let someone else's toxicity poison our family. Through choosing each other. 6 months passed. Then a year. Victoria sent birthday cards for our daughter, expensive, impersonal cards with checks inside. We deposited the checks in a college fund and sent brief thank you notes. She didn't call. Didn't visit. Apparently, apologizing to Omi was too high a price to pay for a relationship with her grandchild. Marcus and Teresa reconnected. Not romantically, they'd both moved on. But as friends who'd survived the same battlefield. I'm glad you got out before she destroyed you completely, Teresa told me over coffee one afternoon. Our daughters played nearby, blissfully unaware of the past. She tried, I admitted. But I had something you didn't. What's that? Documentation. And a husband. Who finally listened. Teresa smiled sadly. I am happy for you. Really? She looked at my daughter. She's beautiful, Clara. Don't let Victoria steal even one moment of this joy. I promised I wouldn't. My career flourished after maternity leave. Patricia promoted me to senior coordinator, praising my dedication and skill. The rumors Victoria had spread were Forgotten, replaced by respect I'd earned through my work. Ryan and I grew stronger. The crisis had nearly broken us, but surviving it together had forged something unbreakable. We went to couples therapy, learned to communicate better, built new patterns of trust. Our daughter thrived, happy, healthy, loved beyond measure. The family we'd created was whole and real, untainted by Victoria's poison. Sometimes I wondered what Victoria told herself. How she justified her actions, rewrote history to make herself the victim. Did she actually believe her own lies? Did she understand what she'd lost? I'd never know. And increasingly, I realized I didn't need to. Her story wasn't mine to understand or fix. 2 years after our daughter was born, we had a son. The pregnancy was easier this time, no interference, no manipulation, no stress beyond the normal worries of expecting parents. Victoria sent another card. Another check. Another brief, cold message of congratulations. Do you think she'll ever try again? I asked Ryan. To come back? He considered it. Maybe. But it won't work. We know who she is now. We won't forget. Our daughter toddled over, her brother sleeping in my arms. Gamma, she asked, pointing to a family photo on the wall, one that predated all the drama. Ryan knelt beside her. Grandma lives far away, sweetheart. But you have lots of people who love you. Right here. She nodded, satisfied, and ran off to play. Children are resilient. They adapt to the families they have, not the ones missing from their lives. Our kids would grow up knowing they were loved, protected, valued. They'd never doubt their worth or their place in our family. Victoria had tried to break us. Instead, she'd taught us what we were capable of. Surviving. And in the end, that was the greatest gift she could have given, though she'd never intended it that way. 5 years later, I stood in my living room again. Same house, different life. My daughter was starting kindergarten. My son was a wild, joyful 3-year-old. My marriage was strong. My career was thriving. Ryan wrapped his arms around me from behind, watching our kids play in the backyard. Remember when you thought this might all fall apart? He asked. Every day, I admitted. And I'm grateful we fought for it. We'd heard through Marcus that Victoria was in therapy now. Not because she wanted to change, but because loneliness had finally caught up with her. She'd lost both sons, both grandchildren, her social standing. Consequences, it turned out, were powerful teachers. Would she ever truly change? I doubted it. Some people were too invested in their own narratives to ever see the truth. But that was okay. I'd stopped waiting for her apology, her acknowledgement, her change of heart. I'd built a life without her, and it was beautiful. My daughter called for me from the yard. I squeezed Ryan's hand and headed outside, leaving the past behind me. Victoria had tried to break my marriage while I was pregnant. But karma didn't need me to do anything. It just needed time. And in the end, the best revenge wasn't destruction. It was building something she could never touch, a family bound by love, trust, and unshakable loyalty. A life she'd lost the privilege of being part of. That was victory enough.